Hi everybody, in this video we are going to discuss about how we can perform deletion at the end in a circular linked list. The input for the operation will be the list in which we are going to perform deletion, and the operation or the function is expected to return the value of the node which we are going to delete. So let us consider a linked list with 5 elements like this. When DeleteEnd is called, actually the function should return 19 and the linked list should contain all elements except the last one, right? So how we can implement, we can have a temporary pointer, right, pointing to the first node, and we have to move the temporary pointer to the node which is last but one. So what I mean here is one node before the last node we should move temp, right? So your temp should be here. That is what is expected, and then what we should make is we should make the next part of this particular node to point to the first node, because logically this will be the last node after we delete this particular node. So the next part of this should become this, and the address of this we should store it in a temporary pointer. Before we make this change we have to do this, right? Otherwise the address will be lost. So you have to store this address in temp1 before we change the next part of temp, and then we have to free this memory. Before freeing this memory, copy the data part in the node into a particular variable and you return it. These are all the steps that we'll be following, and the exceptional cases that we have to consider are when the list is empty and when there is only one node in the linked list, right? So in both the cases it will be similar to what we did in delete at the beginning. So let us call delete at the beginning for these two cases. Let us formally write the algorithm. The input for this algorithm is the list in which we are going to perform delete at the end. And the step 1, you are checking if the list is empty or there is only one node in the list. Then you are going to call insert beginning and you are going to return what that particular function returns. Sorry, this should be delete beginning. Okay, and otherwise you are going to make temp to point to the head, move temp to last but one node, and now make temp1 to hold the address of the last node. Okay, temp should be pointing last but one, temp1 should be pointing the last node. And now you make next part of temp as head, right? And store the data part of temp1, that is the node which is going to be removed in D. Okay, and free the piece of memory with address temp1 and you return D. This is the algorithm that we are going to follow. Let us see the implementation. In the header file already we have declared DeleteEnd function, and for easiness I have returned one more function here, that is single node. We will pass the list and it will return true if the list contains only one node, right? So how I am doing it, I am just checking whether the next part of the first node, right? Where is the address of the first node? In the head. So if the next part of the first node is equal to the first node, then we can understand that there is only one node in the circular linked list. So I am just checking it. Since this is a conditional statement, either it will return true or false. If the statement returns true, then we are going to return true. Obviously it makes sense, isn't it? So if there is only one node, this condition will be true. So the entire function will be returning true, and otherwise the function will be returning false. Now let us write the delete beginning function, and I have copied the algorithm here as comments. So we will use that for implementation. I need two temporary variables, temp1 and temp and temp1 node pointers, and I should have a integer variable also, right? In the first one, what you are doing, you are checking if if the list is empty. Okay, is empty of, you pass the list by value, right? So you have to put *l, or you put logical or, and you call this is single node, right? Is single node, you pass the list. For this address should be passed, so we can just give L. If either one of the condition is satisfied, then we are going to return after calling delete beginning. Okay, for delete beginning also we have to pass the list. Done, right? And in step 2, what we are going to do, we are going to tell temp equal to head, right? Head of the list, right? And move temp to the last but one node. Okay, so while How will we check? We are in last but one node. Let us see the diagram. When I am here, if it is here, it means that temp next will be head, right? How will I identify the last but one node is? When temp is pointing a node whose next part, right? So when I tell temp next, I mean that I am referring to the next part of the next node pointed by temp, right? So when temp is here, when I tell temp next, I refer to this particular place. Okay, if it is equal to head, then I can understand that I am in the last but one node, right? So you are going to tell while temp next not equal to head of the list, right? So L head. Then we are going to tell temp equal to temp next. Okay, you move to the next node, and here we are going to tell temp 1 should point the address of the last node. Where it is in the next part of temp. Okay, next part of temp, because now temp is pointing to last but one and its next part will contain the address of the last node. Okay, so we are going to tell temp 1 equal to temp next, and now you are telling that make next part of temp as head, right? So temp next equal to head. We have to make this, and D you have to tell it is the data part of temp 1. So temp 1 data. Okay, and free the piece of the memory. It is C programming, so we should use the free function for freeing it. So free temp 1, right? And you have to return D. Okay, return D. And in the application file I have done certain insertions and I have called the DeleteEnd. Let us first of all compile and check whether there is any compilation, and then we can check the execution. Okay, so when we compile using the script, we find that I have made a mistake while writing. It is DeleteEnd, not delete beginning. So that is the mistake. Other one is in line number 150 I have used as head, right? It should be L head. That change I should make. L head. In C programming I should use the structure variable and then only I can make it, right? So let us execute the code and see. Now let us work out the order in which I am doing insertion and deletion. In application file, what I am doing is, first of all I am calling insert at the end and one is inserted. Sorry, insert beginning and one is inserted, and insert beginning 2 is inserted. Then insert end 5. Okay, then insert beginning 3 and insert end 4, and then we are calling insert at the given position 3 10. Okay, 1 2 3 10. Okay, so 3 2 10 1 5 4 should be the elements, and when we give delete end, actually 4 should be removed and all other elements should come. Let us check. 3 2 10 1 5. Yeah, this is working, and we can also check for the case when there is only one node in the list, right? Since we are calling insert beginning, it should obviously work. Let us confirm it. Yes, value deleted is 1 and list printed. It is an empty list, so it doesn't get printed. Okay, so the code will be shared in GitHub. Try it by yourself. Thank you.